What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for as time progresses. I'm going to talk about some important levels on Tesla, on SPY, the QQQ, and all these different tickers, and break down some new developments. I'm also going to talk about some economic data, what's going on with these Fed speakers, and some more information like that. But before I break anything down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, guys, I want to talk about something very big going on with the markets. You can see that SPY is starting to lose some strength. It's looking less strong than before. It's not selling off aggressively or anything like that, but it's definitely struggling to break out of the 450s, and we're starting to see some sellers stepping in. The same thing happened to Tesla today. I think something happened involving Elon Musk. I will talk more about that maybe in my afternoon video. I just want to focus more on charts just for this one. For now, let's look at some data. So we had the mortgage rate data coming out a little bit below expectations or the previous report. And the 30-year mortgage rate was basically the same. So this is about the US. This is not too different from before. So this isn't affecting the market that much, but it just came out. Besides that, there's not really a whole lot else coming out. I think most of the data is out. We had quite a few Fed speakers today. For tomorrow, as a reminder, we have a bunch of Fed speakers. We have Barr, Collins, Daly. Even Collins is going to be speaking again 2 times. So a bunch of these Fed speakers coming out for Friday. And we have a bunch of options expiring as well, which could cause more volatility. So I will be breaking down that specifically later on. For now, let's just look at the chart. How are things looking thus far? So on SPY, I'm sure many of you have noticed on the hourly time frame, we have a clear head and shoulders like formation. We have this left shoulder here. We have a head that formed yesterday, and today we formed the right shoulder. We got this little pop near open, and we just started declining since. And the market's looking like it's weakening a bit. If this is truly going to play out, let's see if SPY break below 447.5. If we get that break going into tomorrow or beyond, we could see this thing start sinking much lower. Now, if this thing is a trap, okay? In order for me to change my mind on any selling on the downside, we need to see SPY do the same thing I mentioned before, and that's break 452. If we break above 452, and we start pushing above that level, then I'm going to say that this head and shoulders is invalidated and we could turn bullish. As of right now, thus far, we have not done that. We're not even close to 452 just yet. And if anything, we're looking weaker. So the odds are favoring the bears right now. The bears have the edge on SPY. All right, so right now, we're currently testing 449. We're kind of shopping around this area. I think the 30 minutes 50 EMA was very close to that the last time I checked it. So yeah, we're kind of shopping around the 50 EMA right now. That's around 449 flat. If we lose that, like I said before, you're going to be watching this wick right here at this 448 level. We're just going back and forth in a very choppy manner, but we are still looking weaker than before. We're not, ripping to the upside this time. We're not pushing up higher. This is the second day in a row where SPY is looking a little bit lackluster relative to the rally from before. So there's going to be a risk of downside if we continue to break down. And for confirmation for a bigger move to the downside, we want to see 448 break and 447.5. And that's when it's going to start sinking even lower. Now, getting a pullback does not necessarily mean I'm a big bear for the markets. I think that we could get a temporary pullback, but I'm still very bullish for December. My view has not changed. But this healthy pullback is normal. It's long overdue. And so far, the odds favor it. Now, looking at Tesla's thing is looking very bearish. Selling off, it's down over 4.6%, giving back most of the gains it had from before. And this is something I warned you guys about yesterday. I was talking about how there could be some downside coming to Tesla because of the markets, alongside other factors. We had this head and shoulders like pattern developing on the chart, and this has played out quite nicely. The full measured move has not been made yet, especially if we test this 230 area. If this breaks, we could be looking for this thing to come back to like 225 or so. So one thing worth noting on Tesla last time I checked it was on the daily chart. We're going to zoom in a little bit. On the daily, not only is Tesla looking bearish in terms of this daily close, but it depends on how we react to the daily 200 EMA right at 230. So 230 is going to be very important for Tesla. If we lose 230, it's going to sink lower. If we hold it, it could try to hold this area for the time being. It looks bearish. It looks like it's going to test this and it might break below this. If we lose this, this gap might fill all the way back down to 223. So there could be more downside coming to Tesla. Does this mean Tesla's going to crash for good? No. I'm still bullish on Tesla for the very end of November. I'm bullish on Tesla for December. just right now in the present time. We're starting to see some downside, and this may continue for a little bit longer. This is overdue. It's healthy. There's nothing wrong with it, and this may continue as time goes on. All right, so watch this 200 EMA on the daily. We'll see if Tesla could hold this or not. If you lose it, it's going to turn even more bearish. For Aapl, now this thing did something a little surprising. It actually tried to break above 190, but then it ended up failing. So very interesting how Aapl attempted to get that break, but the daily candle, if it does close around here, if it closes a bit lower, it's looking bearish on the daily time frame. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 4-hour on Aapl and kind of hide the extended hours, and you'll see something very interesting here. So we have this potential reversal signal off this bearish divergence that's forming. You can see we got this long wick here. This is rejection off 191, so just a little bit higher than the 190 resistance. A little bit surprising it actually went that high, but still got a rejection, and now it's starting to come back down. I wanted to just call out that if Aapl continues to sink, we're going to be watching 188 as key support. If that fails, there's going to be a risk of it filling this gap down here to 187.5, and there's another big gap at 184. We might see Aapl slow down a bit, which could drag the market lower. So you just want to be very careful with Aapl. It popped and started to come down. It struggled to break this resistance between 190 and 191. So it's very important to pay attention to that level. It is looking a bit more bearish. So it's not totally bearish, but it's looking like a little weaker now that it rejected off that level. If we continue to sink, we'll be watching 189 very carefully. If we lose it, it's going to be sinking for 188.5, 188. That's going to be key support. Right now, it looks like it could sink a bit lower, even though it's trading a bit sideways. Nvda, I was talking about Nvda rebounding to about the 490 area. And then I told you, watch resistance, it could reject here. As of right now, it's kind of shopping around this 490, the 490 area, going back and forth and back and forth. We're going to be watching Nvidia very carefully here. If it starts sinking, this could drag the market lower. The thing about Nvidia is the 4 hours looking a bit weaker. When we look at the daily time frame on Nvidia, not looking as strong as before. We're losing some momentum here. We're barely holding this 5 EMA, so around 485 is going to be a key support to watch for. If we lose that, we're going to see Nvidia sink lower towards 482, 480, then 478. Right now, it's just very choppy, trading sideways in this 490 area. If we lose 490, you're going to be watching 488. If we lose that, it's going to start sinking for 485, and that's going to be critical support. There is a risk of this thing getting rejected. If it does sink lower, you want to be very, very careful. Looking at something else, I think I went over everything except the QQQ. The QQQ is a bit resilient thanks to Nvidia. You could see that right now the daily candlestick is still looking like it could favor the bears a bit more. On the 4-hour time frame, it's starting to curl a bit. We have this big gap down here to 377, and it's looking a little weaker. It's trying to hold very close to 384. So we're going to be watching this carefully on the QQQ. One thing worth noting, though, is the fact that momentum is starting to shift towards the bearish side, and we still have this like head and shoulders like pattern that's still valid technically. So we have like the left shoulder here, we have the head up here, then we have a right shoulder forming. You could also interpret this as an inverse cup and handle if you want to draw it that way. But this favors the downside a little bit more. We just need to see Nvidia slow down a bit more. Same thing with Aapl, and this could start sinking. We're going to be watching this 384 support. If it loses that, we're going to be watching 383.5 as critical support. If that fails us, 382 is the last point of hope for it. Otherwise, it's going to start sinking all the way down to 380 or below that. So there is a risk of some downside, even though it's kind of shopping right now. It's not tanking right now. It's just chopping back and forth for now, but there still is a risk for downside. For resistance, you're going to be watching 386.25 and 387. We'll be watching this as it chops around, but there could be more downside coming very soon. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. I want to make this one very short. This is going to be your intraday update. Make sure you watch these levels and do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.